Gold can be made from urine also. Round about the year 1857 AD, when Mahayogi Devraha Baba had completed his austerities near Devraha Lake, for some time he was journeying on foot in the western region of Yamunotri and Harkidon spot. This region was a rocky, mountainous type, icy cold and very silent. People of urban areas were yet very rare to be seen rushing here. Cars or other vehicles too were absent. Food, water, etc. had to be carried on one's back. In daytime too, ferocious jungle beasts were encountered. In this very spot, Mahayogi Devraha Baba was enjoying his travel on foot with a 25-year-old disciple. Mahayogi Devraha Baba was collecting many rare herbs growing here. In this region, that herb can be found growing wherein one sucks about 4 seeds of it an interval of 3 hours once doesn't experience hunger or thirst for 12 to 15 days. The seed of this particular herb are quite similar to seeds of bijaban herbs growing in Pansari region. In this region, one can find many paras stones also. Paras, because of its mind-blowing quality, is a very well-known stone. Yet, since it is very rare to find people merely possess hearsay information regarding it, no one knows how exactly it looks. Many true and false datas are discussed about the Paras stone. The people residing in the region where Mahayogi Devraha Baba was journeying were known to conjoin small pieces of iron to the hooves of goat and sheep that they owned, so that if this iron touched the Paras stone while walking, it would turn to pure gold. These people every second or fourth day would check the hooves of their sheep and goat whether the iron tied to there had turned to gold or not. Lest actually in the animal's hoof iron had actually got converted to gold, they would remove it and attach another piece of iron to the hoof. Apart from this, people residing there would tie pieces of iron with a very strong threads, hang it on the waterfall in those areas. These people every second or fourth day would check the iron hanging on the thread, and if it had not yet converted to the pure gold, they would again place it in the waterfall. They would do all this so that lest a para stone flowing in these waters touched the hanging iron pieces, the iron would turn into gold. The young disciple of Mahayogi Devraha Baba would follow the latter everywhere in his travel. Upon these local residents, there the disciple too would tie to his vest a 10-foot rope to which in turn was tied a piece of iron. Thus, while walking behind Mahayogi Devraha Baba, the iron attached to the disciple's vest would drag touching the ground. For this action of his, Mahayogi Devraha Baba scolded the disciple many a times and warned him not to tie this iron to his vest. But the disciple was hell-bent on going against Mahayogi Devraha Baba's divine advice. No doubt for 4 days the disciple would do as Mahayogi Devraha Baba advised, yet the very next day he would again start walking with the iron rod dragging on the ground behind him, which is tied with the rope. In this manner, while walking behind Mahayogi Devraha Baba for a few months with iron piece attached to his vest, the disciple gathered a few kgs of pure gold in these very lonely, rocky, mountainous regions. Since the disciple felt it quite arduous to carry this huge amount of gold with him, at intervals while traveling, he would place this gold as so that wherever required and bury a bit of this gold under huge trees. The disciple would make a note of where he had placed this gold so that whenever required, he returned to these spots. He could dig these gold pieces and carry them away with him. Similarly, one day this disciple was following Mahayogi Devraha Baba during his travels. As usual, the disciple had tied a big stick of iron tied to his vest with a rope, and the stick would drag on the ground, making a jingling noise. On hearing this sound, Mahayogi Devraha Baba shouted, "Child, for a quite some time I have been warning you to stop this activity of yours, yet you are just refusing to listen to me. But child, do hear as attentively to what I say. The path you have chosen to walk on shall create a lot of hardships for you in the future, whereas the path I am showing you shall eternally give up true peace. It means by helping you sit permanently at Almighty Lord's hallowed feet, I desire that you attain eternal divine bliss. But you, by your foolish acts, are rushing towards the hell of discontent and strife only. Do listen more, my child. Now I shall head for the plains by journeying through Ramaganga. Over here in the mountains there is no chalks to endure, but on plains wherein cities, towns and villages people dwell, they dip with greed and avarice. If they get even a whiff of a burden that is gold you're carrying with you, they shall create big problems for you. And in some way or the other way, they shall lighten your burden. At that time, you shall tear your head in grief and repentance. Hence, I strictly advise you to give up dulled attachment to this big burden of gold you are carrying and follow me empty-handed." This disciple, on hearing Mahayogi Devraha Baba's sage counsel, went to all the spots where he had buried gold and gathered all this gold. He brought this gold to Mahayogi Devraha Baba so that it could be carried to the plains from the mountains in which they were present at present. In other words, it was crystal clear that Mahayogi Devraha Baba's sacred advice had just no effort on him and refused to pay heed to their daring warning seriously. After 10 days, when the disciple returned with this huge amount of gold, Mahayogi Devraha Baba started traveling towards the plains. After walking for few days alongside the banks of rivers, waterfalls, etc. of the mountains, when Mahayogi Devraha Baba reached the banks of Ramaganga, quite high above Rudraprayag, called the region of Hanuman, he told his disciple, who was secretly carrying with him the burden to about 10 kg of gold, "Child, how can you call yourself my disciple when you refuse to listen to what I say? In sacred scriptures it is written, Shishyastu Kova. It means Who is a true disciple? The answer is Guru Bhakt Yova. It means a true disciple is one who is a loving devotee of a Guru. A devotee is one who all commands given to him or her, and certainly not one who disdainfully ignores the sage advice given by the great Guru. Today, child, do listen to my decision. आज की खवे खल जान के थाके घोरक संग ना रखे. I am totally against hoarding and gathering things. If you wish to travel with me, you shall have to renounce hoarding things. Else, I shall not allow you to travel with me. Hence, Sadhu, the ascetic disciple, do listen carefully. Either these pieces of stones, that is gold, shall stay with you, or I shall stay with you. Lest you are unable to renounce this dwelled attachment to material objects, I shall renounce your company. Either you keep company of these stones or keep my company. It is not in your well-being to place one leg each in two boats. If you throw your gold in the river Saryu, only then shall I allow you to accompany me. Else, do go your way alone. When he was spoken too harshly, thus the disciple caught hold of Gurudeva, Mahayogi Devraha Baba, thus, Revered Sir, I can leave everything else, but I can't leave you. I shall stay only with you. Mahayogi Devraha Baba said, Child, then there is no need to carry this burden of rubbish. The ascetic disciple threw away his wealth gathered by him with immense effort on the basis of this thinking that the Guru's orders reign supreme and is of utmost importance. Now, Mahayogi Devraha Baba peacefully allowed his disciple to accompany him. At that end, by uprooting huge stems of bananas from a forest of banana trees with the help of banana peels, a boat-like construction was made. After sitting in it, they would travel in the river and make stopovers at many places on the way. Sometimes, in certain villages on the river banks, Mahayogi Devraha Baba would stop for a few months at a stretch to give darshana and divine bless to all visitors. After traveling for many years thus, Mahayogi Devraha Baba reached Faizabad. Slowly, after choosing a good spot, he stopped at Gorakhpur. At that time, Mahayogi Devraha Baba had only one disciple accompanying him. This disciple would serve him day and night. The place at which Mahayogi Devraha Baba was residing there for many years, rainfall was very scarce. Thus, there a famine-like situation had taken over. Mahayogi Devraha Baba was seated in the waters of river Saryu. Faithful people, here as per the order of Mahayogi Devraha Baba, built a loft at a height of 12 feet where Mahayogi Devraha Baba resided for a fairly long time span. He resided here till around 1980 AD. After a great length of time, that very disciple who had gathered kilos of gold came to Mahayogi Devraha Baba and cried loudly in anguish. He was so much at pain within that it manifested as tears outside. When his crying decreased a fair bit, Mahayogi Devraha Baba asked him, "What is the problem, my child?" The disciple, voicing his inner agony, said, "Revered Gurudeva, my inner material desires are not allowing me to live in peace. I cannot sleep properly at night, and during the day I can hardly do any work. Even after so many years passing by, my veiled selfish desires are not binding adieu to me. What should I do, sir? After listening to your sage advice, I threw away 15 kgs of gold into rivers Ramaganga despite the fact that I had labored a lot in collecting this wealth. Yet my mind even today running after it. If you commend me, I shall go there to again collect gold, and with its money on feeding hundreds of people, I can appease this desire of mine to execute charity work. Mahayogi Devraha Baba said, "Child, the fact that one desires to be called a great philanthropist, a respected social worker, and a great devotee of God in order to attain worldly renown too is a material desire. A true yogi must stay away from all desires, whether they are righteous or unrighteous in nature, else one gets ensnared by this net of worldly delusions and ultimately one gets destroyed. A snake charmer or an actor taking recourse to superficial show earns wealth to fulfill his daily life needs. By itself, such a task is not much praised by society. Suppose someone attaches the word saint, his holiness, etc. in front of his name so as to use it as a fake day in order to amass wealth and fame, fan following, and actually succeeds in doing all this, then from our hallowed scriptures standpoint, this activity is said to be lowly and demeaning. In comparison to such a person, a snake charmer accrues much less sin. In the guise of religion and righteousness, to nurture facade and vanity is such a tangled act that man creates his downfall for many lifetimes to come in future. Hence, my child, I feel whether your desire is righteous or otherwise, you must renounce it mentally in order to attain true long-lasting peace. When this disciple, ascetic in no way, tried to heed Mahayogi Devraha Baba's sage advice, the latter said, "Okay, if you so desire and if God wishes to give you wisdom only after getting kicked about like a football, then so be like it. Since you have my blessings and that you have served me quite well, you shall not have to roam around here and there to gather gold. I shall not allow you to waste your remaining years in search of Paris touchstone that converts iron to gold. As a boon, I shall teach you the science of converting your urine into gold. But child, keep this in mind that this obstinacy of yours shall land you in big trouble. At that time, do not run to me crying aloud in sorrow." On noting this ascetic's obstinacy, Mahayogi Devraha Baba, while teaching him the science of converting urine into gold, said, "Child, you are already observing the Ekadashi fast, the 11th day of moon, waxing and waning according to the Hindu calendar. Henceforth, you must observe this fast without drinking water even or nirjala. On the 10th day, you may devour fruits and milk once in a day. You can drink water 2 times in the day and by giving the name of 3 types of herbs on the morning of Ekadashi day at around 4 am in the evening after passing urine and stalls. Chew the first type of herbal properly in the measure prescribed. Chew in such a way that you drink its juice and then throw away the remnants. After this, in the first leg of third paraha around 9 am, by chewing the second type of herb in the measure prescribed in such a way that you drink its juice, then throw away the remnants. After sunset on that day, after seeing second or more than 2 stars in the sky, chew properly the soft parts of third type of herb in the measure prescribed and swallow it. After this, for the chemical reaction taking place in the stomach by sucking a special type of turmeric and chewing it before going to sleep, it must be eaten slowly, and keep in mind that on Ekadashi before sunset urine can be passed only once. An urge to pass urine after this must be obstructed in the urinary bladder, and that it should not excrete out. On the Davadashi Tithi, through special mantra chanting from appeasing sun and moon gods, and also mentally remembering Lord Dhanavanantri, a Havan fire sacrifice must be done in which kheer mixed with ghee or clarified butter must be offered to the Yagna fire. After this, after melting 1/4 copper in a big vessel, purify it with the stal ammonic. Then a prescribed measure of urine passed must be poured into this copper that has melted totally. Then after covering it with a plate, it shall be left alone for about 3 hours or till the contents cool down fully. Later, in this vessel, you shall see 24 karat gold that has been prepared through the above process. Child, with this you can assuage your sorrow. Go, because I give you full permission to leave. Now, do not stay here with me. This ascetic disciple, on taking leave of Mahayogi Devraha Baba, left for a pilgrimage. After a short time period, he reached Ganga Sagar, Ujjain, Jagannath Puri, Banaras, Prayagraj and other tirthas. There, he arranged huge programs for feeding the hungry in hordes and thus attained a lot of fame. Later, this ascetic, after passing by Mathura, Kurukshetra, Pushkar and Dwarika, finally reached Karachi. Now, this ascetic would travel on an elephant and accompanying him with a huge mob of people. Everywhere, people would chant, "Victory to the saint!" Everywhere, people would eulogize him. Thousands of poor people would be fed free, sumptuous meals, and they would also be gifted with blankets, clothes, etc. Now, this ascetic was very pleased. In Karachi too, when he planned big program of feeding huge crowds of people in a few days, the entire city got to know about him. At that time, the district officer was an Englishman who was quite astounded that how could this ascetic, who did not do any work to earn money, was conducting such expensive yagnas and also feeding hundreds of people without taking any money from them. This officer, suddenly accompanied by police personnel, raided the ascetic's residence, wherein They confiscated about 20 kg of 24 karat gold. Of course, apart from this, they did not find any narcotics or intoxicants. The collector immediately locked up this ascetic in jail. The collector started questioning the ascetic as to how he got possession of such and so many pure gold. This ascetic did not want to answer this question at all. When the ascetic was given strong arm tactics and a lot of fear was instilled in his mind, that ascetic unfolded the mystery, saying that he made this gold from his urine. When the collector refused to believe the ascetic's version, the latter said to the collector that he would be tested for this truth. The collector, out of curiosity, asked how as to this was possible. The ascetic said, "When my urine touches copper, the latter gets converted to 24 karat gold." At that time, the ascetic had already passed urine once for executing this process, and hence he had obstructed his urine in his bladder as instructed by Gurudeva. Mahayogi Devraha Baba, the collector, asked him whether urine passed only once by him could be used to make how much amount of gold. The ascetic said that this answer can be given only later. In the meantime, he told the collector to gather as much as of copper possible by him. In that era, the collector sent many of his aides to as many homes as possible to collect copper articles like vessel, rings, lids, wires, etc. When these were weighted, collectively it was found to be the measure of 1 quintal. The ascetic asked one person to light a wooden stick of cashew with fire. Then, in a huge vessel, the copper collected was placed and was melted in the fire lit. In an hour's time, when the fire became very hot, the copper melted fully like a wax and almost appeared like water. As per requirements, the copper was purified using sal ammonic. Then the ascetic, opening his loin cloth in front of all those present, passed urine in 5 glass vessels. In equal measure, immediately these vessels were shut properly with lids. This was done so that the chemical stream did not fly away to navigate in the atmosphere. When after about 3 hours the lid was removed, the entire copper got converted to pure gold. On seeing this, officials and the collector were mind-blown. On looking in the directions of the ascetic, the latter said that at the moment I can pass only this much urine. On hearing this, everyone was wonderstruck. This report was immediately sent to London by the collector. At that time, King George IV's son was anointed as the king, that is, King George V. The London government had decided to call this ascetic there and put him under their authority. This decision was not hidden from ascetic. All his arrogance of possessing yogic powers cooled it down. The ascetic was now very scared, and thus at this moment he remembered Mahayogi Devraha Baba's harsh yet well meant words. The ascetic thought, "O Gurudeva, this time please do get me out of this dire situation. Henceforth, I promise that I shall never ignore your sacred commands." Due to Mahayogi Devraha Baba's invisible grace, wisdom dawned in ascetic psyche that by hook or by crook he must contact Mahayogi Devraha Baba, and only then his problem can be solved. He hence wrote something in Persian language and through someone sent it to Mahayogi Devraha Baba. On reading this letter, Mahayogi Devraha Baba, calling the Gorakhpur collector, asked him to write a letter to his disciple King George V in London. In this letter, he gave details of his ascetic disciple, and Mahayogi Devraha Baba wrote to the king that by calling this ascetic to London, no benefit would accrue to his government, because this ascetic is carrying out tasks based on the knowledge bestowed on him by me. Only due to my grace is his knowledge reaping success of converting copper to gold through his urine. When I shall withdraw my grace, no longer this ascetic be able to make gold from his urine. If you call this ascetic, know that since he shall not be able to make gold from his urine, which is a reason why a government is calling him to London, he shall only be a burden on you, wherein you shall also have to feed him, etc. Child, if you give pain to any ascetic, and Saint Almighty God shall get displeased with you. Hence, it is my command that you immediately pass an order to release this ascetic disciple of mine. The moment this letter reached London to the king, the latter passed an order immediately to release the ascetic. Thus, Karachi's collector, after confiscating 20 kg of gold and the extra 1 quintal gold from the ascetic, released the latter from jail. The ascetic headed straight for Mahayogi Devraha Baba's sacred darshana. Mahayogi Devraha Baba said that he was not displeased with the ascetic. It is the Guru's responsibility to scold and hammer his disciple so as to make his walk on the right path of true well-being. By helping the disciple to go beyond worldly fleeting attractions, his doubts are first warded off so that the disciple marches ahead on the path of God attainment that gives eternal divine joy. After scolding the ascetic a lot, Mahayogi Devraha Baba gave him prasada and sent him to the Himalayas. He told the ascetic that this was the last darshana he was giving. Now, go to the Himalayas so as to carry out austere rites in order to remember Almighty God. Thus, after the ascetic got liberated from all desires, he would be able to immerse his mind in God devotion. This is the most important task of creatures that are embodied as humans. My unlimited grace flows on you. You shall definitely attain God realization. Later, about 120 kg of gold was kept in Karachi's museum by the collector there. Even today, this gold is kept well secured in London and Karachi's museum. Later, this collector also went for Mahayogi Devraha Baba's darshana and then became his staunch devotee. At that time, the collector understood who exactly are saints and sages and what kind of wealth make them infinitely wealthy. At that time, this ascetic disciple of Mahayogi Devraha Baba was about 82 years old. As per Gurudeva, Mahayogi Devraha Baba's comment mentally bowing down to his stayed away from worldly chalks. He had headed towards the banks of Himalayas river Gangas in a cave there so as to serenely remembered Almighty God. There he dwelt for around 18 long years. He was a devotee of Lord Rama. Due to Gurudeva Mahayogi Devraha Baba's blessing, his mind got totally immersed in divine thoughts of God. Gurudeva, making him undergo harsh situation, had in the process worried of the aesthetics material desires, yearning for name and fame, for wealth. Now, since the ascetic was free of all worries, daily in the early dawn hours after bowing down to Gurudeva, Mahayogi Devraha Baba would immerse himself in remembering God and performing sacred worship. Thus, he got immersed in the infinite oceans of divine aesthetic bliss and supreme peace. He had also got direct darshana of Lord Sri Rama, goddesses Sita, Lakshman ji, Hanuman ji. Many a times, Gurudeva Mahayogi Devraha Baba too would appear before him in his astral form. After giving this aesthetic divine comments, Gurudeva Mahayogi Devraha Baba would disappear from there in a flash of a moment.